Hey, what's up? I'm Jason Howell, and I'm here with the ASUS Transformer Pad Infinity. I actually have the tablet as well as the mobile dock accessory that I'm going to review. The 32 gig model is $499. The 64 gig model is $599. ASUS has a few tablets in the Transformer series. This is the latest and probably the greatest of those tablets. Let's take a quick look at the specs. It's running NVIDIA's new Tegra 3 quad-core T33 processor at 1.6 gigahertz with 1 gig of RAM. It has a 1920 by 1200 IPS Plus LED backlit display, micro SD card slot, micro HDMI, 2 megapixel front-facing camera, an 8 megapixel rear-facing camera with LED flash that's capable of 1080p video, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, gyroscope, accelerometer, and GPS antennas. No mobile carrier supports, keep that in mind. And finally, it's running Android 4.0.3 Ice Cream Sandwich. One other thing to note, it actually comes in this color, which is amethyst gray. You can also get it in a champagne gold color if you so choose. Let's take a look at the design. I'll take it out of the dock for a second here. It's mostly aluminum unibody design, gives it a really nice solid feel with a very small plastic strip up at the top, which supposedly improves GPS signal due to an issue in previous versions with such a thing. It's comfortably thin. It actually bests the new iPad on that front, and it's very light to hold to boot. Now, my one issue is that it has the single speaker down here at the bottom corner, and when you're gaming or holding it for a movie like this, you end up cupping the speaker and kind of blocking some of the audio so it can flange a little bit. Maybe they should have placed it in a little bit better spot since you're more likely to hold it like this when used, but overall that's not the end of the world. Now, as far as the display, it's actually a very impressive looking display. Definitely the best 10-inch Android tablet display I've seen to date. There's little to no discernible pixels. When you really look up close on it, you can hardly see them. It's extremely bright. It has the IPS Plus mode, which I believe it's in right now. If I deactivate it, it's on full brightness without IPS Plus. And then if you're outside, you just hit that and you get that extra boost. So when you're outdoor, this display is actually incredibly bright and easy to see. The IPS gives you wonderful viewing angles. As you can see, at any angle, you can pretty much get a perfect to near perfect view of the display. So very nice to see that. The camera on the front is a 2 megapixel front-facing camera. It's pretty good when it gets focused. I had some focus issues on it where it would focus in behind me and trying to have a hard time catching that focal point. The rear-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels, is also good, but it's a little bit washed out for my taste. I prefer a little bit more saturation than what I was getting out of here. But overall, the pictures were a combination of, pretty detailed to somewhat flat on the color spectrum. So keep that in mind. You might have to do some after the fact enhancements. And HD video recorded on the rear facing camera. Maybe a little bit of frame skipping issues there, but overall it looked pretty decent. Now, maneuvering the OS actually seemed very smooth, and I would hope so. It's got a lot of guts behind this. So going into your app tray and skipping around the OS, things were fluid. I do tend, after being so used to Jelly Bean, to see the changes that Jelly Bean brought with its butter enhancements to kind of smooth out the frame rate of graphics throughout the OS. You can't fault this for that, and ASUS has already said that they are bringing Jelly Bean to this device. We're hoping that that's soon, and that would iron out that minor complaint. Having said that, it's definitely a workhorse, and it's great at doing things like multitasking. It's also great at gaming. The body does get hot, however, during high processor intensive things. Right over on this side of the tablet, it would heat up. So keep that in mind. It wasn't the end of the world, but it definitely did get a little warm. Now, the Transformer Pad Infinity also includes some of ASUS's software. They have their WaveShare UI overlay, which is very minimal. Really, one of the only places you truly see it is in the notification panel. You have these toggle buttons, and that's actually a pretty good improvement over vanilla Android. It includes a few pieces of software. Of note is SuperNote, which allows you to write with your finger as well as type it in, and it'll keep a log of everything that you're writing up there, a nice note-taking feature. File Manager is nifty for gaining access to your root directory and moving around your files. It's a good file manager. As well as MyCloud, which is ASUS's cloud storage. And the tablet actually includes 8 gigs of storage on ASUS's cloud storage system, so that's pretty neat as well. Others include App Backup, App Locker for creating a pin for apps, and MyNet for streaming up to 1080p video to DLNA-enabled devices on a network. Now, the battery inside this device has to be pretty chunky because it's doing a lot. It's powering this great high-res display as well as the processor behind this, and thankfully they've packed a 25 watt-hour battery that actually packs a nice punch. It's needed to serve those power-hungry specs. It has excellent battery efficiency, especially since ASUS included 3 power efficiency modes. If you go into the notification toggle, you have your power saving mode, your balanced mode, or your performance mode, depending on what you're doing at that moment. And finally, if you want to add extra battery efficiency to your use, add another 19.5 watt-hour battery to the entire equation, and that's thanks to the mobile dock, which has a battery built into it. It's $150 for this. It's an extra accessory, but I highly recommend if you're getting one, you get both. You will want the mobile dock with this tablet. It has a built-in SD card and USB ports for expandability. It has that extra battery, and actually a nice feature is that when they're plugged in together, it uses the battery on the mobile dock before it uses the battery on the tablet. So when you run out here, you can just pop out your tablet and you've still got all of your juice ready for whatever else you need to do. The chiclet keys were pretty pleasing to me and actually felt really good, if not a little narrow and small for my fingers. Keep that in mind. And finally, the trackpad, which I kind of see as a big failing in most of these types of accessories, was pretty good. So all in all, I'd say if you're getting one, you should get both. I highly recommend that. So let's take a quick look at the pros. The display is beautiful, even in highlight situations. Its performance, I mean, it performs alongside the best Android tablets right now. And the mobile dock accessory capability is a major differentiator and takes this tablet to a new level. Now the cons. The camera on the front as well as the back, the pictures tend to be a bit washed out. It's only Wi-Fi, so if you need that mobile network support, you're not going to find it here. And the speaker is placed somewhat poorly on this device, but overall, it's really kind of reaching. It's hard to find many faults with this tablet. I absolutely recommend it as a buy. This is the best 10-inch Android tablet that I've played with to date. And with the optional mobile dock keyboard accessory, people looking for an Android tablet that can act as a laptop, really you can't find anything better than the ASUS Transformer Pad Infinity. You can catch my reviews on All About Android at twit.tv/AAA. And thank you so much for checking out my review of the ASUS Transformer Pad Infinity.